I'd like to welcome Emile Hirsch and Sean McNamara to Sidewalks Entertainment. Hi, it's so great to have you guys on our show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Great to be here.
Thanks.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for having us.
So, Emile, Bow Artist at War, The Autopsy of Jane Doe, The Girl Next Door, Into the Wild, reflecting back to the beginning of your career, how did you get into the work that you do? What led to your first big break as an actor?
Just persistence. Going on auditions, doing little roles that just led to bigger roles, and it sort of was like a snowball rolling down a hill. Commercials, and then little guest appearances on TV shows, and then little parts in movies, and then bigger ones, and then eventually the snowball rolls all the way, and here I am with Bow Artist at War.
Yeah, so I remember one of the first times that I'd seen you on screen was in The Girl Next Door. And it's been so amazing to see how your career has progressed through the years. And you're so incredibly talented. And now Bow Artist at War.
Thank you. And I felt like the part of Joseph Bow in this movie. It sort of required all of the abilities that I had sort of cultivated throughout my career, and it was a part that had all the challenges. It had an accent, it had aging, it had physical comedy, it had drama, it had intense monologues and courtroom scenes that are reminded me of A Few Good Men. It had all these really challenging aspects, and it kind of was a dream role in that way, but also intimidating, and one that you approach with a lot of respect. And it's really a testament to Sean McNamara, the director here with us, that we were able to do it. He was always insistent on Joseph's hope and resiliency and comedy with the character. He told me that from our very first conversation, and we moved forward from there on that path.
Yeah, so Sean, your work spans from some of our favorite childhood shows like Even Stevens, That's So Raven, and then later you went on to create movies like Reagan, The Soul Surfer, The King's Daughter. Reflecting back at the beginning of your career, if I'm not mistaken, Kids Incorporated was one of your first major projects that you worked on at the beginning of your career as a producer. That was one of my favorite shows, by the way. How did you become a producer on Kids Incorporated?
I could sing this song, Kids Incorporated,
Ah!
KIDS. I loved doing kids and family films back then.
Oh my God, it's such an honor to be able to speak with you about this.
But that's the start. I don't know how I ended up in children's television. I always wanted to just make big films like Steven Spielberg and George Lucas. I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and I just wanted to make quality movies. And so even when I was doing family entertainment for Disney and so forth, I was always with an eye, make it as good as possible with the best acting. And and it just evolved eventually. So from those shows, the heart was still there to make about Artists at War. And I always believe life is filled with miracles. And I wanted people, when they see Bow Artists at War, life is a miracle. You just have to choose to see them. And what Joseph Bow was brilliant at is we could make people laugh. He was a jokester, and that brought joy, especially to those people who thought all was lost. When you can laugh, you realize not all is lost, because that brings you some joy and hope. So that's what it's all about. And if I can make people cry and laugh and make them mad, that's what I'm trying to do.
So, Emile, how would you describe what your experience was like working on this film? And how would you describe your character's personality? And what was it like playing this role?
So, playing this role, it was a combination of, okay, how do I find the resiliency that he had, the hope, but also how do we nail this sense of humor? Because he's referred to throughout the movie as being this eccentric with the sense of humor. And I remember we did a table read, and Sean and the writers and I afterwards said, okay, well, we see the script here now. What is the nuances of the humor to where we can make it exactly specific for Joseph to work in these scenes? And sometimes it was pushing the envelope a little bit with the humor, and sometimes it was pulling back on the humor. So the humor was probably the most key the most key uh tool for to play Joseph, I think. If without his humor, uh he just would not be the same guy. He was someone that sort of had saw the world through his funny filter in a way, and so everything he said kind of has this funny, hopeful, very witty filter. And I think that, comedy is one of those tricky things where, it's if you're not funny, you have no shot. Like there's no, like, if someone is not funny, there's basically nothing you can do for that person to actually make them funny. It's just one of those things where it's very, very hard to fake. In fact, I would argue it's almost impossible. And that was something. So there was always the fear of, like, oh my gosh, I got to be actually funny here. I can't fake it. Fake everything else. So that was, I would say that was definitely the biggest challenge. Definitely.
So, Sean, when casting Bao, what were some main traits or key traits that you were looking for in the actor that you wanted to cast for the role of Joseph Bao? And what made Emile perfect for this role?
Well, again, it had to be somebody incredibly talented. Luckily, Emile said yes to doing the part. And then to have chemistry with Inbar Lavi. Inbar Lavi is this Israeli actress who I didn't know as much, but she had been doing some television, and I watched her and I went, she's definitely got something. And then what happened is when those two got on the set, the magic just happened. And you can't plan for that. You want it to happen, but you never know when you put two people who don't know each other and screen together what's going to happen. But they're so good, they're so talented and professional. They made just magic happen on the screen. So that was unexpected. I mean, I would hope for it, but that's how we made that element of the film so believable and so lovely and so real. And that was a miracle in itself, that these, real Joseph and real Rebecca found each other and magic happened. So it's the same thing that happened with the making of our movie. Emile and Inbar met each other and magic happened, and you see the result in the final print.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, both of you are just so amazing. It really was such an honor to speak with both of you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everyone, be sure to watch Emile Hirsch in the film Bao, Artists at War. Sean, Emile, you
Thank
guys
you.
take care.